So in the last video, we ran this code from inside Python, and we wound up with a field over here called zoning rank, and it had some values populated. But what happens if, for whatever reason, let me undo some of this. I'm gonna just comment all of that out so that we don't run the entire thing. What happens if we try to run this again, and you notice add field is an option, right, or a tool that we're running? What happens if we try to run it and the field already exists? What happens? Well, regardless of what happens, the thing is that you need to know, and you need to be able to prepare for it. We're going to run it right now and see what happens. And you see it just says finished with exit code 0. What does that mean? Did it create a new field? Did it overwrite the field that we have? Did it create a field with a different name? It didn't fail, but that doesn't mean that it worked right. So let's just go over here and see what happens. You know, it looks like the field that we already had is still there, so I don't know what it's doing. But one thing I might want to do is just say, could you at least give me some messages so I know whether or not you are actually doing something. I'm going to do print get messages, and I'm not going to put a number in here, and that way it'll give me all messages instead of just the error messages, etc. And maybe this will give me a little bit more information about what it's actually doing. In this case, I believe that they've changed the code so that this tool, if it finds that the field already exists, it just continues on and uses the existing field. You notice this is actually giving me a warning. Okay, but if the case were that it would fail, then obviously we would not want to continue with the rest of the script. Okay, or if it creates one with a different name or something like that. Similarly, if we decide that that maybe what we want to do is, whoops, and I'm using Control / to uncomment whatever is highlighted. In this case, I've actually gone and removed the equal sign here, so we're going to get an error. So what I'm putting it in a try except statement, so it'll actually attempt to do this, but it won't give me the, oops, let me put in a print statement here. Your selection was successful. Now this will only run if this statement has been executed correctly. All right? If it doesn't, then it will come down here. What happens though is that if it fails, this is still going to execute. So we want to make sure that that does not happen. Right now, for now, I'm just going to comment it out, and we're going to see what happens here. Run this. So I ran it, and it tells me that zoning rank already exists, which is coming from here. We know that. And then it says it succeeded, but that means this tool succeeded. And then it moves on. Something went wrong with selection, so it tried to execute this, and it came back here. Something went wrong with selection, and here are the messages. And I put in the 2 because that means I only want to see the ones that are errors. You could have just left it empty, and it would have given you all the messages. So something went wrong, and so we need to go figure out what it was. Now, if we hadn't commented out, this would have gone ahead and run, and then it would have basically populated, I think, all the fields or all the records with the value of 5. So let's go ahead and put this back to equals. So we know that this is the correct. What is this thing asking me? Yeah, we don't want to do that. Okay, so it'll actually run. And I tell you what, inside this try except, now we're getting a little fancier. I want to put in another try except, and basically I'm going to put the calculate code in here. So it's only going to execute if the selection executed correctly. Okay, so that's basically what that means. So if I've tried this, if this works correctly, then move on here and try this. If this doesn't move correctly, then come down here, print out the except statement, and don't do this other part. And so now we're also going to need to get messages to, and we'll put another print statement in here. Went wrong with calculate. Okay, so we'll see what happens here. Let's run that thing again. Oh, run that thing again, and it ran okay. It says it was successful. We probably need to put in a message here in our calculate field so that we know that it was successful. Calculation successful. And so that way these are just ways in which we can communicate with the user as to what's going on. If you're going to be logging this, if you're going to be running it, overnight or something like that, then you might want to set up your file IO to a text file to basically, instead of printing this to the screen, you're actually writing it into a log file. And so these are things that you can do to enhance actually the code that comes out of ModelBuilder. Okay, so let's go in now and add the second of our calculations in ModelBuilder. We're going to export that just so that we can see how it handles it. We could actually just copy this and edit it, but one of the things that's very problematic, I'll tell you right now, is this selection statement. Okay, it's subject to formatting issues and things like that. So if you can get ModelBuilder to spit it out for you, it's kind of nice to go ahead and do that. Be aware though that everything ModelBuilder spits out will not necessarily run. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the model here.